What would you do if your life unraveled with a single phone call? One that didn't come from a stranger, but from the shadows of your own family's decisions. That question haunted me for weeks before I could even begin to answer it. It was an ordinary Tuesday in early October, the kind of day that feels too still to predict disaster. The sunlight poured into my office at Rothwell and Lindley through wide glass windows, bathing the room in amber and gold. From the 23rd floor, the city of Chicago looked like a dream. Crisp leaves tumbling in the breeze, street musicians echoing their saxophones through alleys, the scent of roasted nuts from sidewalk vendors seeping in each time someone opened the main doors. I was just wrapping up a client meeting, closing my laptop with a satisfying click, when my phone buzzed on the desk. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail. I'd had my fill of spam calls that week, and I was mentally halfway to the wine I'd promised myself for surviving another 10-hour day. But something in me, a flicker of intuition or perhaps sheer habit, reached for the phone and pressed accept. "Hello, this is Brent Collier calling from Horizon First Bank," said the voice on the other end, calm, professional. "I need to confirm some details with you regarding a mortgage loan application for a property at 920 Glenmore Avenue." My hand froze. "I'm sorry, you must have the wrong person," I said politely, glancing toward my computer screen as if some open tab might explain this confusion. "I haven't applied for any property loan." There was a pause. Not the kind that signals a bad connection, the kind that signals discomfort. "I understand this may come as a surprise," Brent said slowly, choosing each word like it might trigger an explosion. "But according to our records, you, Ella Martin, are listed as the co-signer. The primary applicant is Marissa Martin, your younger sister. The documents were submitted in person, by your parents." For a second I forgot how to breathe. The name Marissa clanged through my head like an alarm. My sister. And then my parents? My mouth went dry. That's not possible. I never signed anything for her. I wouldn't. "I understand your concern," Brent continued. "But the loan was approved nearly 9 months ago. All documents carry your name and signature. I have them on file." A jolt of memory flashed through my mind. Thanksgiving. The kitchen filled with laughter, the smell of cinnamon and sage, my mother sliding a few papers toward me between conversations. "Just some health insurance renewals," she'd said. "Sign here and here." I hadn't even read them. Of course I hadn't. They were my parents. My stomach turned. "I need copies of everything," I said. "Today." "I'll email them shortly," Brent replied. Then he hesitated again. "One more thing, Miss Martin, the loan payments are 67 days overdue. Your account now carries a delinquent balance of $21,800. The number echoed in my head like a gunshot. I heard myself thank him and hang up, but I wasn't really there. I was staring at my reflection in the black screen of my laptop, still dressed in my perfectly pressed blazer, still in my professional world, but the ground beneath that world had cracked wide open. It took less than 3 minutes to receive the documents in my inbox. And it took even less than that to confirm what I feared most. The signature on the loan documents looked like mine. But it wasn't. Not entirely. It was a forgery. One that carried the subtle flourish my mother always added to her And just like that, the walls of my life began to shift. Not from a stranger, but from my family. There are moments in life when you feel something inside you crack. Not all at once, but slowly, like ice breaking beneath your feet. That night I felt every fracture. As soon as I ended the call with Brent from the bank, my hands were already dialing Jonas Carter. He didn't just know me. He knew how I thought, how I process fear. More importantly, Jonas was a civil attorney who'd seen the ugliest side of family fraud. And after 15 years of friendship, he knew the sound of my voice when something was truly wrong. "They forged my signature," I said the second he picked up. "Jonas, my parents, Marissa, they put my name on a mortgage. They used my identity. I never signed anything, but the bank has all the papers. With my name. My signature." He didn't ask if I was sure. "I'll be there in 15, he said. True to his word, Jonas showed up at my apartment with his laptop bag slung over one shoulder, and the kind of calm only a courtroom veteran could carry. He didn't hug me. He didn't try to comfort me with hollow words. He sat beside me, opened his laptop, and pulled up the documents I'd forwarded. "Let's start here," he said. "Show me what they sent." I opened the email and double-clicked the attachment, praying that somehow this would all be a mistake. Some clerical error. A technical glitch. Anything other than what I already suspected. But there it was, my name printed clearly as cosigner. My signature almost perfect. Jonas leaned in closer. Ella, he murmured, pointing to the slight loop at the end of the in my first name. This flourish here, that's not you. That's your mom's handwriting. She does the same thing when she signs holiday cards. Look at the way she curls her M's. It's been imitated, but it's not yours. I didn't speak. I couldn't. My stomach twisted. My mouth felt dry. It was one thing to imagine a mistake, but this was a calculated act. Not a misunderstanding. Not a desperate one-off. A deliberate, precise fabrication. And that's when my phone rang. Mom. I stared at the screen, the contact photo frozen in time. The two of us standing by the lake on her birthday, arms wrapped around each other, sunflowers in the background. That image, once warm now nauseating. Jonas gave me a nod. Answer it, he said gently. Stay calm. Let's hear what she says. I took a deep breath and slid my thumb across the screen. Hi, sweetheart, Mom chirped, like she hadn't detonated a bomb in my life that afternoon. Are you free tonight? Your dad's making your favorite, mushroom risotto. Thought you might want to come by. It was almost surreal the way she said it. Like everything was normal. Like I hadn't just discovered a mortgage in my name tied to an address I'd never even seen. That's perfect, I said slowly, deliberately. Because I want to talk to you too. I had a really interesting call from Horizon Bank today. A beat of silence. Then I was going to tell you, she said, voice shrinking. Marissa needed help. You're doing so well, Ella. You've got your career, your apartment, your firm. She's still figuring things out, and the bank wouldn't approve the loan unless someone with a strong credit score backed her. We didn't think it would be a big deal. So you forged my name? I said. You took out a massive loan. Without asking me. Do you even realize how serious this is? If the firm finds out, if the bar association finds out, I could lose everything. My license. My career. You're overreacting, she said quickly. We're family. Families help each other. I looked over at Jonas, who raised a single eyebrow and shook his head. Help each other. I repeated, the words like gravel in my mouth. Or just help Marissa. Because I don't remember anyone asking me. I ended the call and put my phone down slowly. The silence between Jonas and me hung thick in the room. She's not sorry, I said finally. Not for what she did. Just that she got caught. Jonas closed his laptop and looked at me. Not as a lawyer, not even as a friend, but like someone who had just watched a chapter of my life implode. Ella, he said. This isn't just forgery. This could be criminal identity fraud. If they did this once, they could have done it again. We need to dig. Tonight. I nodded. Not because I was ready, but because I had no other choice. Somewhere between truth and denial lies the moment you finally say enough. That night, under a sky smeared with the pale amber of city lights, Jonas and I pulled up to the house where I'd spent most of my childhood. It looked exactly as I remembered, modest, two-story, slightly weathered from time and Midwestern winters. The porch swing creaked lazily in the wind, just like it had since I was 7. If someone had taken a photo of the house in that moment, you wouldn't see the lies packed inside. You wouldn't see the betrayal festering behind those glowing windows. You'd just see a home. But I wasn't here to visit family. I was here to confront criminals I once called my own. Are you sure about this? Jonas asked as he turned off the ignition. I nodded, jaw clenched. I need to look them in the eye. I need to hear the lies from their own mouths. We stepped inside without knocking. My mother, Grace, greeted us in the doorway with a smile so strained it barely held shape. Ella, she exclaimed, voice chipper and unnatural. What a surprise. Your dad's just finishing dinner, and Marissa's in the dining room. I'm not here to eat, I cut in. We need to talk. The warmth in her expression faltered. She stepped aside as we entered. The house smelled like roasted chicken and rosemary, a scent that used to feel like love. Now it felt like a trap. Marissa sat at the table, her face blotchy from crying. She didn't say a word. My father stood near the stove. Stirring something in a pot like this was any other evening. I walked over to the dining table and placed a thick stack of printed documents in the center. These are copies of every account, every loan, every form you fraudulently opened using my name, I said. And they all trace back to this house. To all of you. There was a long, unbearable silence before Marissa cracked. I didn't mean for it to get this bad, she whispered. I just needed help with the down payment for the house. The bank said no, and So you forged my signature? I interrupted, my voice ice cold. You thought that was okay? Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't think it would hurt you. You have a good job, Ella. You're doing fine. You wouldn't even notice. My fist clenched. I notice when my credit score dropped by 200 points. I notice when a bank rep called me about a delinquent balance of over $20,000. I notice when I started wondering if I might lose my license because of what you did behind my back. My father turned from the stove, arms crossed, his tone low and defensive. Marissa just needed a start. You've always been the golden one, top of your class, great career, fancy law firm. You've got more than enough. She just needed a leg up. And you thought that justified stealing my name? My identity. I turned to face him. You thought using me as a human credit card was some kind of twisted favor? My mother stepped in again, her voice gentler but no less infuriating. We didn't mean to hurt you. We thought if we explained it later, you'd understand. No, I said flatly. You didn't think I'd understand. You thought I'd never find out. Marissa reached for my hand. I pulled away. I'll pay it back, she sobbed. I just need a little time. I opened my phone and pulled up her most recent credit card statement. Last month, you spent over $9,000 at a spa resort and $3,500 on designer handbags. How much are you earning per month? She didn't answer. I pressed again. Marissa, how much money do you make? Silence. Then a whisper. I don't have a steady job. That did it. The final piece. I turned to all three of them, my parents, my sister, and saw not family, but people I once trusted with everything, now standing knee-deep in a betrayal they couldn't even bring themselves to own. You didn't just cross a line, I said. You burned the whole bridge. My mother's face crumbled. Please don't do this. She'll lose her home. We'll lose everything. I looked at her for a long time. Then I said the one thing I never imagined I'd say in that house. Then you should have thought of that before stealing from me. The hardest part about betrayal isn't the shock. It's the silence that follows. The stretch of time where you're left alone with the realization that the people you loved most planned every detail behind your back. Calmly, quietly, without hesitation. That night, after leaving my parents' house, I didn't go home. I needed somewhere that didn't smell like memories. Jonas and I ended up at his apartment just north of Lincoln Park. The windows overlooked the lake, now swallowed in early winter fog. He set a steaming cup of coffee in front of me and opened his laptop, eyes serious. Are you ready? He asked. I nodded even though I wasn't. Let's see how deep this goes. Jonas had already begun running background checks, combing through public financial records and leveraging professional contacts to access deeper databases. He'd also looped in an old colleague, Ria Patel, a sharp forensic accountant known for her brutal honesty and zero tolerance for injustice. She joined us over video call. I've seen dozens of family fraud cases, she said bluntly. But Ella, this one's unusually coordinated. Whoever did this didn't just forge your name once. They've been using your identity for months, maybe longer. As she spoke, documents populated Jonas's screen like falling dominoes. 3 credit cards, 2 personal loans, a high-risk investment portfolio built using my credentials and managed through a fabricated business entity. This card, Ria pointed out, circling a transaction list, was used to book a 3-night stay at a golf resort in Naples, Florida, during the exact week your mother was posting photos from a relaxing staycation. I stared dumbfounded. I thought they said they couldn't afford a new dishwasher. Ria's tone hardened. They could afford more than that. These purchases weren't necessities, they were luxuries. And they were using your credit as their safety net. Jonas scrolled to a new tab. There's more, he said, voice tight. A loan was taken out from a private lender in Iowa. $50,000. And they used your investment account as collateral. The same one you opened during law school and haven't touched since. My hands were shaking again. I never approved that. Never even saw it, I said. That's not all, Ria added. This investment fund, the one labeled as Rivercrest Growth Fund, it's fake. There's no registration, no SEC filings. But the account received over $5.2 million in total contributions. I felt like I was sinking. They used your name, your photo, your job title to give it credibility, Ria continued. We found a cloned email account, .martin.consult@gmail.com. That was sending out investor updates. The writing tone matches your mother's email style. They even copied your digital signature. And who invested in it? I asked, though I already feared the answer. Jonas pulled up a list. Church members, neighbors, a couple from my parents' bowling league, my former AP English teacher, Mrs. Landers, who once told me I was the brightest student she'd ever taught. They'd all trusted the Martin name. More specifically, my name. That night, I sat on the floor of Jonas's living room, my back against the cold wall, staring blankly at the screen while the storm inside me built to a deafening roar. My life had become a shell. A gleaming career on the outside, hollowed out by betrayal on the inside. Ria's voice returned softly. Ella, the scope of this means we're moving beyond identity theft. This is federal-level fraud. Possibly wire fraud. Possibly racketeering. You could be implicated if we don't act fast. My voice came out barely above a whisper. What do I need to do? Ria didn't blink. We go public. You file reports with every bureau and agency involved. You contact law enforcement. You take back control now. Jonas looked at me. Are you ready to take legal action against your own family? I looked out the window, past the fog and the lake, to where the city lights flickered like distant stars. No, I said quietly. But I'm ready to fight for myself. In the ensuing days, armed with meticulous records and irrefutable evidence, Jonas and I took action. We prepared a comprehensive file and headed to Hallage Bank, where we met Frederick Dane, the branch manager known for his no-nonsense approach. When Frederick learned of Rivercrest Growth Fund, his face registered shock and disbelief. Your parents contacted us claiming you're trying to tarnish the family's name, he admitted. But this file. He lifted the stack of documents, leafing through detailed bank statements, forged emails, and IP logs with growing horror. This evidence clearly shows that the fraudulent activities were executed from the very address you grew up in, using personal devices linked to your family. Solene March, a senior forensic finance consultant who joined us, corroborated calmly. Every sign points to a family conspiracy. Frederick immediately initiated a freeze on all related accounts and contacted his legal division. Within an hour, plainclothes officers arrived. My parents and Marissa were summoned to the bank. Their expressions ranged from anxious defensiveness to overt panic, as they were confronted with the mountain of evidence. My father's face reddened with anger, my mother's hands trembled uncontrollably, and Marissa, the one who had been the catalyst for it all, could only weep as the officers recited the charges: financial fraud, identity theft, and operating an unlicensed investment scheme. You have all been implicated, Frederick stated flatly, and you are under arrest. As they were led away in handcuffs, my mother managed to whisper, "You'll regret this, Ella," as if attempting to curse me. But I could only shake my head. The time for painful silence was over. 2 months passed and I found myself sitting in the front row of a bustling federal courtroom, clutching a battered folder that contained my story. A story of betrayal that could have destroyed my entire future. The atmosphere was heavy with tension and anticipation. Judge Redding, imposing and resolute, presided with a quiet authority. Defense attorneys attempted to paint our actions as misguided familial loyalty, citing emotional pressure and financial hardship. But Prosecutor Whitaker, a seasoned advocate with years of high-profile fraud cases under his belt, made it clear that this was a calculated, deliberate abuse of trust. Your Honor, Prosecutor Whitaker began, this was not an inadvertent mistake. This was a systematic exploitation of Miss Ella Martin's identity for personal gain. This was organized, criminal deceit executed by individuals who trusted no one more than their own blood. When it came time for me to take the stand, I felt both numb and resolute. My voice, though shaky at first, grew steadier as I recounted the painful details. My name is Ella Martin, And I'm a corporate attorney, I said. For years I have built a career on trust, hard work, and integrity. Yet I have been betrayed by those who were supposed to love and protect me. My signature was forged, my identity exploited, and my future jeopardized by those I once called family. I detailed every moment, the fraudulent signatures, the series of financial abuses, the calls from banks, and the fear that had clawed at me every day since that fateful call. As I spoke, it wasn't just the legal facts that resonated in the courtroom. It was the unmistakable pain and loss of trust that I had suffered. Witnesses, including a tearful testimony from Mrs. Landers, reinforced the human cost of these crimes. By the end of the proceedings, the evidence was overwhelming. My father, Robert Martin, was sentenced to 20 years in prison. My mother, Grace Martin, received 17 years, and my sister, Marissa Martin, was handed a 12-year sentence along with permanent disqualification from financial practice. With every verdict read, a part of me felt both vindicated and irrevocably changed. The legal system had recognized the depth of our betrayal, but the cost was a family lost to a web of lies. A few weeks after the sentencing, as the chilling echo of the courtroom still rang in my ears, I returned to my office at Rothwell and Lindley, but I was not the same Ella Martin. I was now a woman reborn from the ashes of betrayal and loss. On an unexpectedly clear morning, as I sipped a steaming mug of tea and watched the gentle light spill through the window, my phone chimed with an email that would change my life once again. It was from the board of directors, offering me the chance to lead a groundbreaking initiative named Reclaim and Rise. This project was designed to support victims of family-based financial fraud, transforming their pain into a resilient force for change. In that moment of quiet reflection, I knew that despite the darkness I had endured, there was hope to be found. I agreed wholeheartedly to lead this new program. It wasn't just about legal recourse. It was about rebuilding trust, healing wounds, and forging a future where victims would no longer feel alone in their struggles. The initiative took off swiftly. We set up a hotline, a dedicated website, and organized community meetings. The response was overwhelming. I received voice messages and handwritten notes from individuals across the nation. A retired nurse who had lost her savings after her own family's betrayal, a college graduate whose identity had been misappropriated to fund his siblings' education, and even a 71-year-old gentleman named Lionel who had been swindled by a son who vanished without a trace. One particularly poignant message came from a woman named Amina. In her mid-40s, with lines of wisdom etched into her face, she recounted how her brother had exploited her identity to purchase a house, leaving her with nothing but shattered trust. "I lost everything," she said in her message, "but your courage reminds me that it's okay to choose myself." Later, at the very first Reclaim and Rise community gathering held in a modest sunlit conference room, I stood before a small yet determined audience. I shared my story, not as a legal case study, but as a testament to the strength that arises from overcoming profound betrayal. "I am not here to lecture you about healing," I said softly, "but to tell you that even the deepest wounds can be mended. We are not defined by the hurt we endure, but by the courage we muster to rise again." As I finished speaking, the room fell silent, a collective recognition of shared pain and newfound strength. People gathered around, shared their own stories, and in that moment, I truly understood that I hadn't lost family. I had discovered a greater community built on empathy and the determination to reclaim our lives.